What's up guys, Car Boss here, back with another video. It's been such a long time since I engaged you guys and really had the time to kind of like put together my thoughts and to come up with a long form content. So it's been almost a year, right? It's been quite a while. So I've been on this journey as a full-time car reseller, investor, collector for the past 10 or so months now, and throughout this period I have tons and tons of learnings, and it's finally come to a period whereby I can now sit down, look at my work, and basically share a bunch of things that I've learned in the past. So to kick things off in this first video after a long time, it's just to share with you guys my top 5 things that I've learned and what I think is pretty critical for you guys who are thinking about embarking on this journey to become a full-time car reseller. Check it out. Alright, so number one, right, the most important thing that before you even want to consider to become a full-time trading car or sports car reseller is you gotta really get your regular life in order. Now, what do I mean by that, right? So look, I haven't been a car seller, reseller all my life, right? So I started off a normal career. I graduated in accounting. I worked in some accounting firm and I built my way up with a regular career, okay? And of course, like most of you, I was engaged in this hobby at a young age. When I had a bit more money, I could buy a bit more expensive cars. I played Magic the Gathering for 20 years. So I had a very regular career path that led me to this point whereby I decided that I wanted to pursue something that I really enjoyed, which was to deal with cars, in this case, sports cars specifically. And in order for me to get there, I need to get the rest of my life in order, right? So I do have a mortgage to pay, I have a wife, so I don't have any kids, but I do have the commitments. But it's only when I kind of like got everything arranged, it's only then I decided that it was time that I could really immerse myself fully into this hobby, transitioning into a business, into a full-time reseller. Now, a lot of people make the mistake whereby they are still doing a full-time job. Yes, they're working hard, they're actually grinding at night, and that's all perfectly fine, okay, if you're gonna make money on the side. But if you're really gonna stop your 9 to 5 and really gonna immerse yourself into a full-time car reseller gig, it's important that you actually need to get all the regular stuff out of the way. Okay, it's not saying that you gotta pay your mortgage in full, you gotta pay off all your cars in full, but at least you have plans to how to deal with those bills while you focus your entire attention to your sports car business. So the first point is about getting your regular life in order, which leads to the second point, which talks about focus. Okay, F-O-C-U-S, focus. Now, it's very easy to say that, look, I'm gonna focus myself to do sports cards or Magic the Gathering, okay, to trading cards. But to be honest, when I first started this journey, wanting to become a full-time card reseller investor, I had lots and lots of big plans. I wanted to do content, I was gonna do YouTube videos, I was gonna attend shows, like so many things, right? And on top of that, I wanted to do buying and selling, I wanted to list in multiple platforms and a whole host of other things, right? But I realized that it's not something look, it's feasible, okay, if you really try. I've seen people do many things, but in order to get good at what you do, you gotta really focus on one at a time. Okay, which is one of the biggest learnings that I took away in the last couple of months, and that was one of the reasons I kind of got away from YouTube. Look, I really wanted to do some videos to kind of to update you on my journey, but because I was still trying to discover myself in terms of where I want to be in this sports car industry, it didn't really make sense to make content. Like I'll just be blabbering away on telling you guys useless things or things that you guys already know. So, and I always wanted to have this channel to more like to share with you guys on my learnings, my experiences, which I think that you guys will find more valuable. So that's why I really sat down and just wanted to focus on the business itself. Things like selling, things like buying, understanding the platforms I was operating in. And, it's not, you could have it all worked out in your mind, right? You could listen to what people say, advice here and there, but it's only when you get yourself into the space, working onto it, trying it, you win some, you lose some. And that's where you start to discover, yep, that works, that doesn't work. And the process for me took about 6 to 9 months, to really understand where I wanted to be in this market. And once I kind of like got that in order and, chugging along nicely, it's then when I move into other aspects of the things I want to do, content, social media. I want to be more active on Instagram. So, and here I am, right, starting my first video after a 9-month hiatus. So focus is kind of like key, and I do really, I understand the draw of wanting to do so many things at once, and definitely every component of this is actually important to kind of like grow your business. But if you're starting from square one, and you don't know much about doing business, it's good to kind of like just focus on one aspect at a time, and especially the most important part, the buying and the selling. Okay, the third thing that I wanted to share that I've learned right in the last couple of months is in this market, trading cards or sports cards, where it's huge, you have to really find your niche or your strengths, right? You can try to be jack of all trades, right? You can sell low end, high end, medium end, graded, store, and sell in multiple platforms and things like that. You definitely can do that. There's nobody stopping from doing that. But success comes when you have a niche, right? And it's something that you can live and breathe, that niche itself, where you understand the ins and outs of that particular segment within the sports cards or the trading card industry, right? So for me, I took a bit of a while, kind of like bouncing here and there. I wanted to do mass market. I wanted to sell on eBay. I wanted to get my eBay feedback up, and then I decided to move to Fanatics. So all sorts of reasons of jumping around. I realized that hey, Facebook actually has to give you better margins because of without the fees and things like that. So I was kind of like hopping around here and there, but that's fine. Trying to discover yourself. It's only when I kind of like understand where I wanted to be and what kind of comfort zone I was at, what kind of cards I wanted to sell, what kind of cards that I can understand better, that I have more knowledge on, that I would say, use it to my advantage. And that's where you discover your niche, and that's where I think it's important for everybody to find out where their strengths in. It's not just about your limitations in terms of finances. I hear some people saying like, look, I wish I can do high end, but I'm constricted by my capital. I started off not with very huge capital as well, something very mediocre. But I slowly transitioned, and I believe that a lot of other content creators out there, all of them started off with Luca Prism base. Okay, yes, they were $70, and then they were $200, and then they were $500, and then went back up and down again. But eventually, they move on to different cards, from base cards to parallel cards to autograph cards to RPAs to one-on-ones. So it's not like everybody's going to go towards the direction. They'll come to a point whereby what you're comfortable with, maybe you're comfortable with prisms, or you're comfortable with just doing autos, right? So whatever that works for you, it's up to you to determine. But it's important that once you find that, and you find that works, stick with it, keep on working on it, and keep on growing it, because growing doesn't mean just growing the revenue, right? You can grow in many ways. Grow towards your supply chain, improving on where you can source the cards, improving your network, within the space, getting onto Facebook, social media, letting more people who are operating within the space, right? So just broaden the space on your niche, and you find that this a bit enjoy it a bit more compared to if you're trying to spread yourself too thin, trying to deal with all directions in the market, because the market is just so huge. Yeah, I understand that, you want to just grab whatever piece that you can, but usually you gain more long-term success if you find a niche in a particular segment. Fourth learning, and I cannot stress how important this fourth thing is you need to keep your books tight, okay, which means that you need to record every single transaction. Okay, I'm from a finance background, so I understand accounting and how you should really account for the ins and outs of this, this business. But a lot of people I talk to, right, aside from some of them who totally don't bother keeping books, which is a big no-no, some of them actually just, measure in terms of cash, how much cash in versus cash out. That's how much net I make and net I lose. I don't really feel that's an accurate representation in a business, because again, the products that you own or the cars that you own, the valuation of these cars do fluctuate up and down. So even if you bought more this month, versus you sell, it doesn't mean you lose money, because some of the cars that you buy, the valuation do increase on some of them. Of course, you can go back down the other way. So all of these kind of need to be captured to really understand how your business is actually doing. Okay, look, for me, it's like I'm based in Malaysia, so aside from the normal challenges that some of my US friends are facing, buying and selling, logistic costs, and the valuation or the prices going up and down, I have to deal with foreign currency as well. We're trading Malaysian ringgit, so a lot of transactions are coming in from the US into Malaysia, and I have to use Malaysian ringgit to make my purchases outside and change it back to US, and the currency fluctuates up and down. And that sometimes you're not talking about just spending 1 basis point or maybe a half a percentage point. It can go up to between 5 to 10%, which really messes up my entire books as well. So without being very surgical on your books, it's gonna be very challenging to understand whether or not are you doing things right, or even to plan what's the next approach for the strategy, going forward, what kind of inventory you should be buying, whether should you hold your buying for a moment while wait, or what's the level of inventory you need to hold, how much sales you need to push, how many cars you need to go for auction. So only with proper set of bookkeeping, okay, that will allow you to make better decisions in your business. And finally, it's not really a learning that I gained in the last 9 months. It's something that I've already instilled in myself for the past many years, especially when playing professional Magic the Gathering, and that is to trust yourself. Okay, trust the work that you have put in, trust the knowledge that you have learned, trust the learnings, trust the time that you have put in to understand your business, to understand the market, and to make those informed decisions based on yourself, okay, what you believe and not what anybody else tells you. Okay, comps are there as references. I always tell people, right, comps are there for references, but comps are not real. Okay, so it's silly to say that you gotta buy cards based on percentage of comps or at comps. If everybody does that, you're gonna see a declining market, because everybody's just saying I'm gonna buy 7% comps, and for every time a card gets transacted, the value just gets lesser and lesser and lesser. So it doesn't make sense. It's all about trusting yourself to find out what the true value of your card is, or what you believe you can sell it for. If this guy is not willing to pay you for it, find the next guy, because you yourself believe that this card is worth this much and not what the last one says. Okay, and even when it comes to choosing certain cards to buy, right, doing your own research, doing your own homework on certain players. Paolo Banchero is injured, but why is his cards are still high? Of course, people say, oh, upside's great, but you have to dig deeper into that. And I personally am Orlando Magic fan, so I could be a bit biased, but he does have the necessary skills and does have necessary popularity within the hobby, to have a very good, stable cards for the next couple of years at least. Okay, so it's something that I feel comfortable putting my money in, despite him sitting out as injured for a moment. So that's just an example, right? But it's all about you yourself doing necessary work and making those informed decisions based on how much you trust yourself. Okay, so that's pretty much it. 5 things, right? So on learnings that I've kind of like instilled myself and picked up, over the last couple of months. And I think that's really, really important. If any one of you want to do this full time, that the things that I just mentioned is critical. Okay. Otherwise, if you're treating this as a hobby, perfectly fine. You got your job, you got your life, and all this kind of thing. But when you have dependence and where you are financially driven to succeed in this business, you definitely need to take this kind of like extra learnings and put them into place in order for you to have the best chance to succeed. And it took me a while, right? It took me like 9 months or so to really understand where I want to be in this business and where I see it going, not just for myself, but entire hobby. And I'm just pretty excited on what the future holds. So hopefully this will be the first of many, many kinds of content and many, many kinds of learnings that I can share with you guys throughout my journey. And I do have a couple more exciting things coming up for the end of this year, as well as early next year as well. So I'll be sharing you guys more content on these guys. So do like and subscribe if you haven't. Follow me back on this channel. This channel is becoming active again, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Cowboys out.